Welcome once again into this new video on financial functions. That's what we're going to look at today, financial functions in Excel. The way I'm going to do this, I'm going to make it quite simple. I want us to first understand, without using the Excel financial functions, what result do we get? And then thereafter will use the Excel functions for present value and future value, and we see whether we get the same result. The most important thing is understanding what is going on. So to demonstrate the future value and present value, I have an example here where I make an initial investment of $10,000 at a very good interest rate of 10%. The question is, in 5 years, if I'm compounding this, what will the value be? Without using Excel formulas, this is what's going to happen. In the first year, I'll take the investment, I multiply it by 1 plus percentage. 1 is idea, this is 110%. So I'm saying 110% times the initial investment will be the value in my first year. So I'm going to fix the rate and do like so. At the end of the first year, my 10,000 will have become 11,000. In other words, I've earned 1,000 as my interest plus the 10,000 that I put in, I get 11,000. Then in the next year, because I'm using compounding interest, in other words, the interest, I'm compounding the interest. In other words, the interest that I've earned in the previous month is going to earn more interest. That's what we mean by compounding. So I'm going to base my value on this. So again, this one times open bracket 1 plus the percentage rate, which I log there, I close my brackets, say okay. So you'll observe that the 1,000 I earned here also has earned me more interest. In other words, my interest is compounding. So at the end of 2 years, an investment of 10,000 comes to 12,100. So I repeat the same by copying all these down, and I finally get $16,105.10. So if I'm going to do this using, in other words, I'm trying to use the present value. Present value means the value of my investment today. And in future, the future value, the value in 5 years, this is the future value, this is the present value. I'm making the investment today. I want to know in 5 years, if I'm compounding at 10%, what will it be? Telling me it will be $16,105.10. Now, this is the future value that I'm getting using the present value and interest rate. If I'm going to do the same using Excel formulas, there's a function called FV. I open my brackets. The interest rate is 10%, comma, the number of periods I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 5. The payments. What payment means that assuming every year I'm adding in a fixed amount of money, this would be the payments. But in my case, I'm not adding money, so I'm adding 0, then comma. The next argument is what is the present value of this investment. My present value is 10%, is $10,000. Pick that. The other argument is optional. This is about whether the investment is done at the start of the year or is done at the end of the year. By default, I think it takes end of the year. So I'll leave that optional, close my brackets, press enter, and you'll see I get negative 16105.10. In financial terms, in calculations, negatives means that your money has gone in. So because I used positive here, I ended up with negative. If I don't want to do that, in my investment here, I would make it money is going in and indicate negative, then I'll get a positive future value. So if I don't use Excel formulas, I'll go through this tiresome process of getting my future value. But having understood this, you can confidently use the FX formula function to get the future value. Present value. Now, having got the future value, we want to go back to the present value of $10,000 using a compound interest rate of 10%. There is another Excel formula called PV, returns the present value of an investment. Okay, this is what we want. So in other words, we're moving from 16,000 to 10,000. We want to get to the 10,000. So I open my brackets. My rate is 10%. The number of periods is 5. If I'm making constant payments every year, I'll do that, but in that, I'll add the value there. But in my case, it is 0. Then my future value. Now, I'm moving from the future value and going to the present value. So I'm going to the 10,000. So my future value is 16,105.10. And with that, I close my brackets. And there you go. I'll go back to my 10,000. So again, you can do that to get the positive 10,000. So your present value is 10,000. Your future value is 16,105.10. So these are the two financial functions that you can use to move from the present value to a future value, or you can move from the future value to the present value. Now, as I was taking you through these formulas, I left out the payment parameter here. Now I'm going to demonstrate how we use that parameter in my next example. So I'm going to assume every year after making the investment of $10,000, every year I'm going to be adding $1,000. And if I do that, what will my future value be? Again, I'm going to demonstrate without the Excel formulas, and then later on, I'll bring in the Excel formulas to see how we calculate the future value and also how we move from the future value to the present value. So, and I'm going to assume for the start that I'm bringing in the payment at the end of the year. Then later on, I'll show you if I bring it in at the beginning of the year. So the implication is that if I bring in the payment at the end of the year, it will not earn interest for that year, and therefore I'm not going to apply interest calculation in that year. But however, it will, whatever I bring in will earn interest in the following year. So what will happen here, I take my investment, I open my brackets, 1 plus the interest rate, fix that, close the brackets, then I make another payment, which is right here, the 1,000. So I've not applied the interest rate on this 1,000 because it is coming in at the end of the year. In other words, it does not qualify for interest for that year. Enter. So at the end of my first year, I'll have 12,000 if I add in 1,000 at the end of the year. I'll repeat the same process, and because my everything is okay, I can drag this down, and it will show me that an investment of 10,000 at compounded at 10% and making a payment of 1,000 at the end of the year will give me a value of $22,210.2. So if we use Excel formulas, how do we move from the 10,000 to the 22,000 to a future value? Remember, this is the present value. We want the future value. So we are going to use the future value function, which is FB, meaning future value, comma, the rate is 10%, comma, my periods, they're 5 years, comma, the payment I'm making at the end of the year is 1,000, comma, the present value, the value today. The value today is 10,000. The other one is optional. I close my brackets and press enter. Right there, you can see it will be 22,210.2, which is exactly the same I get without using the Excel formulas. Next, I want to again I want the present value. If at all I'm given a future value, I want to see how I move from the future value to my present value of 10,000 if each year I'm adding the 1,000 in the investment, and it comes in at the end of the year. So what I'll do, I'll say present value function will be the rate is 10%. The periods are 5 years. Now I'm making an additional investment every year of 1,000, comma, then my future value, I've calculated my future value as 22. The other argument is optional. You can see it takes me back to my initial investment of 10,000. Now, in the next example, I'm going to demonstrate where this payment comes in at the beginning of the year. Now, because it comes in at the beginning of the year, by the end of, because it has been there for the full year, it also qualifies for interest to be computed on the 1,000. And in our case, our future value, if the payment is made at the beginning of the year, should be greater than this one, because in each of the years, the 1,000 is earning an interest, while in our first example, in each of these years, the 1,000 we put in does not earn interest, it earns it the following year. So that's why the future value in our second example we're going to do should be greater than what we have in the first scenario. So I'll say my 10,000. Now remember, my 10,000 plus, this time I'm going to first add, because it's coming in at the beginning of the year. I add my 1,000, I close my brackets, then the whole of this, because I have to apply interest on everything, this 10,000 comes in at the beginning of the year, so it needs to qualify for interest for that year. I open my brackets, 1 plus the rate. I'm copying my formula down. I need to fix that, then press equal. Now you can see this one here is greater than this, and it will be the same for all the other cases. When I drag my formula down, you can see I have an extra amount of money that comes in, and this extra is $610.51. And the reason for that is because the payment is made at the beginning of the year. Now, this is what happens from first principles. To demonstrate using Excel formulas, I want to move from the initial value to this one, adding in this at the end of the year. So at the beginning of the year. So I'll say my future value, I use the function fx, which means future, fv, which means future value, and my interest rate is 10%, comma, the number of periods are 5, comma, I'm making payments of 1,000 every year, and my present value, I'm trying to get a future value, my present value is that. Then I'll continue. And if I look at the documentation here, a lump sum, if omitted, go down here. If it is a beginning of the year, which I'm considering, you give it a 1, or you give 0, or you omit it. So because this investment is coming in at the beginning of the year, I'll give it a 1. Then I close my brackets, and you'll see this one here is exactly the same as that. But if you want to eliminate that negative, you can do so, and it will go away. So that is my future value. Then the Excel formula, if you are given the future value and you want to go to the present value, again, we are going to use PV, open brackets, rate is 10%, comma, the number of periods are 5, comma, I'm making 1,000 every year. My future value, I'm using a future value to go to the present value. I want to get 10,000. Then the number, if the 1,000 is coming in at the beginning of the year, I need to put 1 there, break, then we go to the 10,000. So this way, you can use Excel formulas to get the future value, or you can use the future value to get the present value, the value today. Hope this has been helpful. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. If you have not subscribed, hit the notification subscription button and also the notification button to alert you of more videos like this one. Have a great day. Thank you for watching.